I suffer from a debilitating condition known as atropic chokitis.
Peter's one of the greatest depositors I've ever seen.
Trust the process. Let's go. Let's go.
I got auto matched with Levitan. This is bullshit.
If I just go the other way, in that 66, I win all the money. All the money.
If I had 150 lineups, I'd win too.
Process over results.
Illuminati make a bitch go crazy. I don't know which one of these my baby. Bust down AP, 35 bullets in your head like KD. Bust it, bitch go bust it. And I had 10 pints with me in Russia.
Hey everyone.
Was I muted there for a second? Weird. Was I muted at the top of the show when I did my cold open too? I must have been muted when I did my cold open. Jeez, just a rookie mistake. I came in early to start the show, got myself all settled, got all my tabs set up here, and then I left it muted because I ran upstairs to, get another pot of coffee, and then realized I did a cold open muted, which is really just a metaphor for how Sunday went. And it's great to get started on the right foot. But you know what? Here, let me redo my cold open since people were deprived of it. Let me do it. The highs, the lows, the winners, the losers. We're going to recover it all on today's portfolio review. That's basically what I said. I know some of you lip readers out there already knew that's how the cold open started. Let's recenter ourselves. Let's try to get going on the right foot. I'll start the only way I know how to properly start, and that's by pouring some coffee and feeding the ducks. All right, here we go. All right, the ducks are being fed, and now I have a fresh pot of coffee here. All right, there's our coffee. The mic is working. Testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2 3. All right. I think we're good now. I think we're good. If you're new to the portfolio review, in addition to starting the show with our mic muted, what we generally do here is we walk through my DFS lineups. I normally am playing 1 or 2 lineups in the single entry contests on DraftKings, mainly the Spy and the Red Zone. Then we will look at the Deposit Kingdom. That's a rake-free weekly league. This week we had a very nice 420 entries in there. We'll check out the top teams. Then we'll head over to Underdog. We will look at the Dawg Bowl, the live final qualifier that we've all been chasing. We'll check out my Battle Royale entries where I got pretty dusted. Thank you, Tony Pollard, for that. And then we'll also do a little review of the overall Ball Mania portfolio. We have 150 entries in that contest, and it's always fun to check out and see how those teams are doing. But let's start here at the top. And I should also mention, we have the giveaway that we're going to do at the end of the show too. So whoever correctly guessed in the comments who is going to be in the winning Draftkings Millionaire Maker lineup on the Friday show with JM is going to be entered in a giveaway to win a free 1-week season sub for the rest of the year. There was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of you who correctly got it right. There was a couple of Breece Halls. There was 1 AJ Brown, 1 Trey McBride, and 1 Seattle defense. Only 1 person guessed a defense, and they guessed it correctly, Seattle defense. So I have 2 giveaways there. So you guys have about like a 1 in 4, 1 in 5 shot at getting that. But yeah, let's dive in and look at my main lineup here in the Spy. I had 2 lineups. Both were built around the Eagles and Commanders game stack. And you must be saying to yourself, oh, Pete, that game combined for 69 points. Surely you won all of the money going all in on Sam Howell and Jalen Hurts. No, I didn't, because all of the other pieces that weren't involved in that game absolutely dusted. But let's recap these lineups here. For the audio listeners, this first team I rolled out was a Jalen Hurts alpha stack with AJ Brown. I did bring it back with Logan Thomas, who is my favorite tight end play on the slate. Then I played a little Houston block, Dameon Pierce and Nico Collins. I had Jonathan Taylor as my other running back, Drake London and George Pickens as some one-off wide receivers I like, and then Packers defense here. So looking overall at the lineup construction, ended up liking the percentages I got on a lot of these guys. Hurts 14.8%, AJ Brown and Nico Collins were the two most popular plays in my lineup, which I kind of expected. AJ Brown comes in at 24.8%, Nico Collins at 25.7%. Then I played Jonathan Taylor, who I thought would kind of be in check. He actually came in a little lower than the ETR projections had him at small field. Felt good about that play at 14.2%. Dameon Pierce at 7.9%. Drake London at 8.4%. Logan Thomas 4.1%. George Pickens 10.5%, just shy of his ownership projections around 12. And then Packers defense at 3.5%. So obviously hit on the Jalen Hurts, AJ Brown, and Logan Thomas. But man, like just there's a lot of things that went wrong with this lineup, but the Logan Thomas wasn't a part that I felt went wrong. You know, getting the correlated bring back at 3,400 at 4% and getting 16 points from him. The problem is when the chalk tight end goes for 25 points, it doesn't matter. And when the best tournament tight end, George Kittle, goes for whatever, 25, 30 points too, it doesn't matter. So that very satisfying Logan Thomas play, 1 p.m., yeah, it doesn't matter when Trey McBride and George Kittle bury you. The Jonathan Taylor play was frustrating in that he had 98 yards at halftime and then just didn't play at all the second half. I don't know if anyone in the chat saw anything about Jonathan Taylor being injured. I truly do not know what happened, because then Zach Moss got absolutely fed in the second half. He had the touchdown. And we also on the morning cram, we had put together the pick'em, had Jonathan Taylor, I think it was higher than 17.5 receiving yards. He didn't get, he only had 1 reception there for 2 receiving yards. So kind of a bizarre run out for Jonathan Taylor. Like if you would have told me heading into the game that there was going to be, some 60 points plus points scored in this game, I would have felt very good about jamming Jonathan Taylor. But he did not get there. 10.7 points, especially when he's in the same range as Alvin Kamara, who went nuclear again. And obviously the Breece Hall chalk did as well. So I knew I was sidestepping the Breece Hall chalk in this lineup, and you're going to get the blade when Breece and Kamara go for what they did, and Jonathan Taylor puts up a snowflake-worthy 10.7. The Texans block, I think, is definitely worth discussing. I guess you could say I kind of middled it. Jam was talking a lot about wanting to attack this Panthers team on the ground, but I also was very much interested in attacking them through the air. I thought both Nico and Tank were great plays. I thought, because I felt there was a lot of steam on the CJ Stroud double stacks, I thought playing one of them with Pierce would be a unique block, and just saying, hey, what if all of the production condenses around one of the receivers, and then Dameon Pierce has a couple touchdowns and salts the game away in the second half. That thesis was looking maybe okay at times. Dameon Pierce, I mean, I'm pretty good at not tilting. I tilted that Dameon Pierce touchdown they called back so hard. That was in the first quarter, right? They get down, he punches it in. It's a fucking mass ball of humans at the goal line that they called a touchdown for him, and then they overturn it. I thought you had to have damning evidence to overturn a call. They're showing the clips of it. You could barely even see him in the pile. It's like you called it a touchdown. How's that not a touchdown? They overturn it, and someone named Andrew Beck comes in and punches it in with some fullback dive. Then Dameon Pierce got down to the 1 later in the game. He should have had 2 touchdowns. It wouldn't have mattered though, because Nico Collins didn't do anything. There was 28 combined points in this game. It seems like you guys were very upset about that as well. But the thesis of the Dameon Pierce play was that that Houston was going to have a really positive game script the whole game, playing from ahead, not needing to throw as much, and then Dameon Pierce would be the big beneficiary. And so, if you get those other 2 touchdowns, if they get the right game script, you could have seen Dameon Pierce getting there. But again, looking at the 1v1s, I played Jonathan Taylor over Alvin Kamara. Awful. I played Dameon Pierce instead of Gus Edwards. How did that turn out? I had actually looked at this lineup because Dameon Pierce and Nico Collins were a comparable price point to Gus Edwards and Zay Flowers. And I'd actually ran the Sims on the solver looking at that, but I just didn't want to eat the Zay Flowers chalk. Obviously, I could have played those 2 as uncorrelated, done Gus with Zay, or Gus with Nico. I would have done Pierce with Zay, or sorry, I would have done Gus with Nico most likely because I didn't want to eat the Zay Flowers chalk. But in these contests and looking at the sims, and we were looking at this on Friday or Saturday's DFS After Dark with Leone too, it really likes the teammate pairings with no bring back or quarterback, essentially getting in a secondary stack. So I liked the idea of trying to capture as many points from the Texans in this spot. Did not happen because the Texans combined for 13 points and Andrew Beck got one of the touchdowns. George Pickens was pretty tilting. He kind of got bailed out there. He had a pretty bad day, just had that one receptions for 22 yards. I apologize to everyone who rolled out George Pickens after I flag planted him as my gold star lock of the week on Sunday's cram. I like this setup for him. Deontay Johnson was earning targets at a high rate. You had Kenny Pickett leave the offense. Just kind of a frustrating day all around for George Pickens. Had another pass deep down the field that should have been caught that kind of got bobbled there. So disappointing there. Drake London was in and out of the game with a groin injury. He did clear our 4 reception number that we included in our pick'em slip. But yeah, I was off my game with my one-off plays. I like the setup for Drake London and George Pickens in this mid-range. I like the percentages that they came in at and kind of the volume that they're offering at discounted prices and ownership. But neither of them get there, nor does my Houston block. So we say GG and move on. The other lineup I rolled out because I was really waffling back and forth, paying up or down at quarterback. And I said, you know what? I love this game. Let's roll out another lineup that's built around this same Commanders-Eagles game, but let's use Sam Howell and take those, $3,000 in savings from Jalen Hurts down to Sam Howell. So this was the second main lineup I rolled out. Here, did get a min cash with this one in the red zone. It was a Sam Howell double stack to Terry McLaurin and Logan Thomas. And then I did a double bring back here. And I did DeAndre Swift and Devontae Smith. I had lock button, Jonathan Taylor, George Pickens as 2 of my main plays. And then in this lineup, I basically was able to use the savings on going down from Sam Howell or going from Hurts to Howell to get up to Christian McCaffrey in my flex. And then ended up punting it off at defense with the Cardinals defense. Apparently, I should have punted it with the Broncos defense, who ended up being the pay down defense to use yesterday. But yeah, this lineup, again, thinking about, one thing I'm trying to do this year is be way more conscious of the type of lineups that I put in different contest sizes. So in the bigger Spy with 5,000 plus entries, I had more of the one-offs, the Drake London, the George Pickens. Here, I did the double bring back saying, I'm going to pit 5 players from this game instead of 3, being that, what if I just have to get less things right? And I did a pretty good job getting the things right from this block. Howell goes for 34.98 points at 3% ownership. McLaurin gets that touchdown, 17 points at 17% ownership. Another Logan Thomas play at sub 5%. And then in this one, I did want to get one Devontae Smith play in here. Obviously, just bringing it back with AJ Brown would have been better, but Devontae Smith at 7% going for 23 points here was nice. And then DeAndre Swift, kind of a ho-hum game here. He gets to 14.4 points, so slightly better than Jonathan Taylor, but again, not outpacing Alvin Kamara and Breece Hall in the other chalkier running back options. And then, yeah, the other plays here did get up to McCaffrey, who was only 15%. I liked getting him in, especially seeing all the steam that was coming on the Niners passing game. Tons of interest on Purdy, Kittle, and Ayuk. So I thought McCaffrey might get squeezed a little bit there. He gets nearly 30 points there at 15%. And then in this lineup, I didn't have the money to get up to the Vikings and the Packers defensive plays, which were kind of my preferred defenses. But I thought playing the Cardinals at home here against Baltimore, maybe get a Lamar turnover or something, basically hoping for the game that the Broncos had against the Chiefs. But with the Cardinals here, that doesn't pan out. I do eke out a min cash here, 158 points. But yeah, disappointing, when you're hitting on the Sam Howell, 4 TD game where he throws for 400 yards and all you can do is salvage a min cash. It's disappointing, but the running backs really sunk me when you have Kamara and Breece Hall as chalk really separating. And then, like I said, with George Kittle and Trey McBride as the chalk tight ends, it just wasn't going to happen. let's quickly look at the team that won the big spy. They did have, oh man, I think someone mentioned this lineup to me in the Discord yesterday, and I actually hadn't had a chance to look at it yet. It's a naked Sam Howell. So you got a naked Sam Howell. You play the 2 chalk running backs, Kamara at 36%, Breece Hall at 58%. Then you get AJ Brown is the bring back, Tyreek Hill at 9,500, 5.6%, Jordan Addison at 10.2%. Then double tight end Trey McBride and David Njoku. No correlation with David Njoku, just a one-off double tight end David Njoku in the flex, and then you hit Broncos defense at 2,000. You know, it's every other week. You know, sometimes I look at these lineups, and let's look at the winning MillyMaker lineup in a second too, because that lineup was very logical. I was like, I might have in some scenarios been able to make a lineup like that. I look at a naked Sam Howell lineup, I'm like, there's just no way. There's no way whatsoever. Let's see here. Tyler, can we take a moment to victory lap the Breece haters saying he'd be a bust and backup, yada, yada. Yeah, the Breece haters are down bad. Breece Hall rips off that big receiving TD. Actually didn't get a ton going on the ground, but that's kind of the whole thesis of the Breece Hall play, right? That those checkdowns, any play he can take to the house. You know, Breece Hall looking like one of the better picks, especially after he fell all the way, to the late 4th round? Weren't some of you guys getting him even early 5th round in some of those underdog drafts? And yeah, it's I think one of the big takeaways too, you know, Breece Hall is a very good example of betting on talent and also realizing that the way medical staffs and coming back from these injuries now, it's just not as insurmountable as it used to be. These guys come back just as healthy as they ever were before the injuries. And it feels like a comfy thing to be like, oh, he's coming off this injury, I can't draft him. And it's like, well, that's already baked into his ADP. We talked about it all offseason, right? If Breece Hall wasn't coming off that injury, first of all, he would have scorched the earth as a rookie, and he would have been a top 6, top 7 pick in drafts. So you're already getting the injury discount, but people wanted to double count it. They wanted to galaxy brain that Dalvin Cook was good or had anything left in the tank. And if you just bet on talent, you bet on the players that are actually explosive and have the potential to do damage with their touches, you're going to come out in the long run. So yeah, I think that was a pretty diplomatic victory lap on Breece Hall. I'm very reticent to dunk too hard because I have my share of whiffs. But speaking of my share of whiffs, how about Quentin Johnston last night? I didn't watch the game, but just seeing he had 5 targets or 5 receptions, I was like, thank God Almighty, he is alive. And they were even scheming up QJ some targets near the line of scrimmage, which is the whole point of the QJ play. He's supposed to be like Brandon Ayuk in that offense. Get him some quick hitters, let him do some stuff after the catch. So hello, Kellen Moore. Congratulations. You finally started to figure out how to use your first round wide receiver. All right, we got G Major with the super chat. Thanks for everything. I play second in the NFL 30K triple option, 3-entry max. You and JM's content helped me build the lineup. Thanks, bro. That is awesome to see. Congratulations, G Major. It seemed like on the whole, the Deposit Kingdom didn't have as good of a week as we've had in previous weeks. But glad to hear that some of you were still taking down some big prizes there. All right, let's see here. I did want to just look at the MillyMaker lineup real quick. I don't know if I pulled that up. Let me pull this up here real quick, and then we'll also move on and check out the Deposit Kingdom contest. But I do want to just get the MillyMaker up here because it was a very, I thought, just logical lineup that won there. Let's see here. So the winning MillyMaker lineup, Jasper here, 237.66. You roll out a Dak Prescott double stack. And what's crazy about this double stack, let me drop my, how about there? Is that better? Dak Prescott to, actually, I'm going to shift myself over here. Why are we struggling? There we go. We'll go small for this. Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup, just a very clean, logical double stack. You don't force the bring back. You know, Cooper Kupp and Puka, they were fine plays, but they're expensive for forcing a bring back. You play the 2 best plays at running back from a points per dollar standpoint, the 2 chalk running backs, Alvin Kamara and Breece Hall. You play AJ Brown, who just was in one of the best spots. He was our cover boy on JM's show on Friday. You play the best tight end value, Trey McBride, and then you get one leveraged piece. You play DeAndre Hopkins at 5,500 with Will Levis at 0.9% ownership, and you get 37 points. And to me, this MillyMaker lineup is so encouraging to me because it is such a logical, normal lineup where you pull one uniqueness lever, like essentially one big lever, and you say DeAndre Hopkins is the one-off guy you need here. The volume's going to be there. Maybe Will Levis kickstarts the offense. Spoiler alert, that's what happens. So I just like seeing this lineup because it's like, holy cow, this gives us all hope that we all too could build out a logically correlated lineup with the best plays. You pull one uniqueness lever and you ship the Millie. So congratulations to Jasper there on the nice team. I don't even believe this is true. Kevin says he got 15th in the Deposit Kingdom with Zach Wilson. Normally we start with the winning lineup in the Deposit Kingdom League. No, not today. We are going to 15th place here. I want to see how in the hell Kevin rolled out a Zach Wilson lineup. You know what? This is so sick, but I kind of like it. He wanted to play Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. And, you know, there were other punt play quarterbacks I liked more. Obviously, I like Sam Howell. I was interested in Desmond Ridder a little bit. I thought Russell Wilson was vaguely interesting. Zach Wilson didn't ever cross my mind once, partly because I hated this game environment. It had a 36.5 total, but Breece was an awesome play. And Garrett Wilson is always capable of getting loose for a big game, which he does here. 6 or 7 receptions for 100 receiving yards and also hits that bonus. Just barely gets that bonus and gets you the extra 3 points there. But this, you are sick, dude. You are absolutely sick. Zach Wilson, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson. And you didn't even chalk it up that much around it. You were pretty contrarian elsewhere. ETN at 10%. You get Lamb at 3%. Kirk 7%. Kittle 25%. Tank 18, and you hit on Broncos defense. I mean, Kevin, you are flying so close to the contrarian sun here. I'm kind of upset for you that you didn't win this tournament because when you hit on Broncos defense, Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, I just want you to get paid off more. But congratulations, you win the weekly Galaxy Brainer Award with Zach Wilson. Let's check out M. Culker, 897 here, who took this down. Had the Dak double stack, didn't have Gallup, but had the Dak to CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson. Played Kamara and Swift. You got McLaurin here as a mini correlation with DeAndre Swift. Drake London as a one-off, which I liked. And then Michael Pittman correlated a little mini correlation there with Alvin Kamara. And then Broncos defense. So the Stone Min here on the Broncos defense ended up being a bit of a cheat code yesterday when you pay $2,000 and get 17 points. That works out pretty nicely. So congratulations to M. Culker. Chicago fan here. Finished in second with a Joe Burrow double, premium double to Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Bring it back with George Kittle. That worked out pretty well, specifically with Burrow and Chase. You bring Higgins along for the ride. Kittle goes nuclear for 26.9 points. And then, oh man, the other really nice play. And look at you guys, almost 10%. Rashid Shaheed rostered in the Deposit Kingdom contest. That's a super nice play there. Did a mini correlation with Josh Downs. And then correlated Travis Etienne with the Jags D. I do like that correlation there. And then knowing you were going to be pretty unique, played Breece Hall here at your other running back. Breece Hall in the Deposit Kingdom comes in at 56%. So I always love looking at kind of the, I don't know what it'd be like, the social experiment of how the Deposit Kingdom handles chalk. And it is filtered through the prism of the players we like. You know, when there's like chalk that we find gross or that we don't like as much, in the Deposit Kingdom, we'll all collectively come in lower. But we all collectively love Breece Hall. So when it's Breece Hall chalk week, it's like, no, we're going over the Millionaire Maker and the small field chalk. It's like, no, we'll show you how much we like Breece Hall. Comes in at 56% here. Was there someone else who wanted me to look at their lineups? I think Colby was in the Discord in the hand builder, said he wasn't going to be able to watch, but mentioned his 5th place lineup here. Had the Jalen Hurts to AJ Brown, didn't force a bring back. Did play Trey McBride here. Kamara and Breece Hall. That was the pairing you needed. You needed to chalk it up at running back yesterday. Calvin Ridley at 10.2% doesn't kill you. 6 receptions, 83 yards. Josh Downs, same deal, 4,800, get you 14.2. And then Kendrick Bourne here, 12.9%, gets 12.6 points. Kendrick Bourne was interesting to me. I really wanted to consider him, but when Juju was ruled in, it gave me a little bit of pause on him just at that elevated price tag and wondering if the targets wouldn't quite be there. And they kind of weren't. He was down to only 3 receptions, but did get that touchdown that kind of salvaged it. And then Vikings defense here. So this is just a pretty solid lineup. You hit on the Hurts to AJ Brown and the chalk running backs, and nothing else sinks your lineup. Sean says, how did Pollard fail? Man, that was the most tilting thing for me on Underdog yesterday as we kind of tab over here. I made a pretty heavy stance on Pollard in battle royales. I was just taking him as basically my 3rd pick every single time because he was available there. And I did think it was a spot I wanted to exploit and kind of get overweight the field. That didn't work out well. I got dusted yesterday in Battle Royale. I had 50 entries and did not recuperate my buy-ins at all there and had a very, let's go to my exposures here. Yeah. So Tony Pollard, these were my 2 big stands. I did Tony Pollard at 38% and Jonathan Taylor at 36%. And, if I had just gone the other way and had those 2 stands be Breece Hall and Alvin Kamara, maybe I would be singing a different tune here. But you can see relative to my other exposures here, Breece Hall, Swift, Pierce. I mean, I was very spread out. I was like mega exploited on Pollard and Taylor, which was by design. I had mentioned this on Off and On the Clock on Friday that I wanted to tighten up my process for drafting these and be more overweight on a core set of plays, similar to how I am with my DraftKings lineups. And then when I am right, then hoping I have enough combinations mixed and matched around that. But I was not right yesterday. I was not right at all, as Tony Pollard was a disaster. Someone asked in the chat, how did Pollard fail? I honestly don't know. I think I've heard all of the theories. He's lost his explosiveness now that they're saddling him up with more touches. They have no interest in force feeding him goal line carries. CeeDee Lamb was part of the game plan. I don't know. I really don't know. I saw Ian Harditz had a tweet this morning. Tony Pollard has gone an NFL high 121 consecutive touches without a touchdown. And yesterday did feel like rock bottom as far as, holy cow, the Cowboys go nuclear. You absolutely boat race the Rams at home. There's 40 plus points, right? How does Tony Pollard not get in the box once? How does Tony Pollard just not give us a baseline level of usable production? So I don't know. I'll have to listen to the film grinders, look at the efficiency metrics, try to figure out what's going on here. But I'm right there with you, Sean. Tony Pollard burned me yesterday. Pretty good. Let me go back here. I do want to shout out T-Pasta here, or tpastella. This could be like an Ed Garvey, Edgar Vay situation here. But congratulations on taking down the $30,000 top prize here. Just a very, again, I would consider logical lineup, right? So you take Tyreek Hill, who falls to pick 5. Then you come back with AJ Brown, who falls to pick 8. And this would be the part where he's getting a major GM here, right? AJ Brown did not fall to pick 8 hardly at all. His ADP had settled right in the 4 to 5 range. So falling all the way back to 8 and getting the Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown combo is pretty rare. Then comes back and gets CeeDee Lamb at pick 17. I think that's right around where his ADP was. You then grab TJ Hawkinson at pick 20. Sounds about right. You then grab Dak Prescott for the stack. And then here you pull the one uniqueness lever, right? The Millionaire Maker on DraftKings pulled the DeAndre Hopkins lever. Stella here pulls the Gus Edwards lever. Edwards, of course, ends up being our generation's Deontay Foreman from last week, goes for 3 touchdowns, and you get a one-off hidden gem here around an otherwise very logical lineup. You smash in all of the top wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, AJ Brown. You correlate Dak with CD. You get one of the top tight ends in TJ Hawkinson. And then you say, this is far too chalky. There's going to be a lot of people who have this, or maybe not because of the AJ Brown, Tyreek Hill, but I still think you want to pull a uniqueness lever here, right? Because otherwise the running back you're taking in the 5th, 6th round, it's going to be on 100% of the rosters, and it's going to be harder to lever your way up. So this is kind of a masterclass, I think, in battle royale drafting. If you get a super rare combo, specifically at the top, like this drafter did with AJ Brown and Tyreek Hill, you run to the podium, you lock in that unique combo that's not going to be frequented by the field, and you still scroll the F down at the end to make sure you're pulling multiple levers to get to first place. So I like this lineup a lot by Stella. Congratulations. My best lineup will not surprise you, included Jonathan Taylor. I did have a Dak Prescott to CeeDee Lamb stack, Devontae Smith. I was basically drafting AJ Brown or Devontae Smith on virtually all of these lineups. Dalton Schultz, really the dagger here. When I used Christian McCaffrey, I wasn't often pairing him with George Kittle. In fact, I was saying, if I'm going to have a Niner, if I take CMC, I'm going to play it as if all the touchdowns and points condensed through him, and then looking elsewhere for tight end production. So that one doesn't work out here. 121.96 for me, and then you needed 160.46 points to take down the battle royale. But I'm going to get back in those streets. I feel like I've tightened up my process a bit this week. And I will say, obviously, you guys should be watching the Badge Bros if you're playing any significant kind of volume on Underdog. But I really enjoyed our show on Friday, Often on the Clock, on the Underdog Daily channel. I pinned those guys down on a late swap conversation and really getting to specifics on how you set up your swaps and how you think about your swaps if it's a day where there's multiple guys who get rolled out. And then I was also talking about the things I'm doing to kind of tighten up my battle royale process and being a little heavier concentrated and trying to execute more of a intentional game plan as opposed to just willy-nilly clicking buttons. So make sure you check out that episode of Often on the Clock. Obviously, some of it's geared toward week 8, but a lot of it was very evergreen. Let's take a look at the Dawg Bowl qualifier. I see the Crusher, Crash Rich, punched his ticket here. Jacob took it down with a Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, George Kittle, CMC. So this was a pretty interesting one. You do a Burrow skinny with T, you bring it back with both Kittle and CMC, and then you play, and then you just hit the absolute one-off nuts, Gus Edwards and DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, that is so sick because Gus Edwards and DeAndre Hopkins, I guess Gus Edwards started getting drafted a little bit toward the end of the week. Earlier in the week, he was going undrafted. DeAndre Hopkins was largely going undrafted. So this is another really fun kind of way to think about this size contest relative to Battle Royale, right? Only 5,000 plus entries in this one. Essentially saying I'm going to get one big thing right, that this Bengals-Cincinnati game is the game you need. And then I'm going to pull two real uniqueness levers in Gus Edwards and DeAndre Hopkins. Pretty sick there, 144 points. Congratulations to Jacob P. Ladson. Sounds like a lawyer or something at the offices of Jacob P. Ladson. Wood Doggy in here as well, punches a ticket with a Sam Howell, Terry McLaurin with a bringback of Devontae Smith, and then plays a secondary stack, CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson without Dak, and then just a one-off running back ETN. But you can see the differences, right, at the field sizes and the type of lineups it takes to win a 5,000 person contest versus a 100,000 plus person contest. And it's pretty stark. And you see these teams that are winning really only getting a few things right. And this, I think what's fun too about reviewing these is I would have thought, hey, you need a Gus Edwards, you need a DeAndre Hopkins, you need both of those guys. Wood Doggy here didn't need that at all. Just jammed in the two best spots, essentially, the Commanders and the Dallas offense, and then didn't make any big mistakes. All of these guys on this team, I guess other than Sam Howell, were being drafted in pretty much every draft. So that's a good one. And I got to give a shout out to our guy Sniper. So this is Harbz. You guys know him from the Deposit Kingdom Discord. Really sharp dude, poker player, hangs out in the Lulz chat sometimes. This is his second time that he has bubbled this qualifier here. And I think I saw his tweet on Twitter. He had a Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, had the Kamara, Gus Edwards at running back, Garrett Wilson one off. and then Kyle Pitts, sad trombone at tight end. And he said he knowingly passed on Jake Ferguson and then immediately regretted it after the draft finished. So obviously if he has those points from Jake Ferguson, another 7 or 8 points, he jumps up and easily qualifies here to head to Miami. So I apologize, Harbz. You have been spot on in these qualifiers, and to come up that short in something that is this top heavy is very painful. So Harbz, keep at it. You're clearly on the right path, but that definitely stings. My top lineup here in the Dawg Bowl, I did have a Gus Edwards share, but as you can see here, I correlated it with Zay Flowers. And I was trying to hit that kind of block where this was a draft where Zay Flowers fell past ADP. I hadn't been selecting a ton of him. I just don't love Zay Flowers as much in the underdog half point PPR. I certainly get the play on DraftKings, but his ADOT and his role is so shallow that you really need to run pure on touchdowns, I think, for Zay Flowers to have kind of a windfall outcome. But he fell all the way to pick 41 in this draft, which was well behind his ADP. So I said, all right, I'll get my Zay Flowers share. And then I used that kind of piece to be like, all right, and now I will go all in on the Ravens offense here. And by all in, I mean draft the only other viable late Raven after Lamar and Andrews off the board and get on Gus Edwards. Then I have Jalen Hurts stacked with Devontae Smith. I have CeeDee Lamb as my pick here at 17. And then I did the same thing as Harbz, and I took Kyle Pitts instead of taking Jake Ferguson there as well. So I'm 119 points. Still, it's nice to know that even if I had done Ferguson, I still would have been like 10 points off there. But yeah, the Flowers pick is ultimately what sinks me, but I can't even be that upset because I don't think I take Gus Edwards if I don't take Flowers. So it is what it is. Felt good about this lineup. Getting close. We'll see if Underdog runs the Dawg Bowl promo back this week or not. How many? I only did a couple of eliminators, and I do not think I have. I do not think I have any live. Where are the eliminators? Even I only ended up getting to do a couple of them. Man, weekly winners. The team that took it down, 207 points. The weekly winners, I loved drafting these. This sweat has been pretty demoralizing. And by sweat, I mean, I haven't had one. Like my best team has 147 points and you needed 207 points there. I don't even know where the eliminators are. Bottom regular season, below weekly winners. Yeah, I think I must have, I think I only had 2 of them and they're already eliminated. So I don't think they're showing for me anymore. Let's see here. Yeah, still games left tonight. I will tell you, spoiler alert, I'm not covering 60 points of ground tonight. It was a pretty good day for my overall Best Ball Mania portfolio. Having Sam Howell, who is my most drafted quarterback here, if I go over and check out my overall exposures here at quarterback, Sam Howell at 14.7%. Feel pretty good about my quarterback exposures on the whole. I had a very kind of overweight position in general on late round quarterback this year. So you can see Sam Howell, Jared Goff, Tua, Geno, Brock Purdy, Kenny Pickett, Desmond Ridder, Russ Wilson. Wish I could swap Bryce Young for CJ Stroud, but otherwise feel pretty good about this portfolio. So when Sam Howell is the highest scoring quarterback on the week and he's your most overweight position at quarterback, that feels good and has certainly helped bubble up a decent amount of my teams here. I believe I am advancing at, let's see, 675 divided by 5. So I have 27 teams advancing right now out of 150. That's 18%. So slightly above average expectation there. So feeling good about that. I don't think my one team that was near the top, that was the Justin Fields one, that one has come back down to earth a little bit. It's now down here in 3,000th place. I only have one team in the top 10K here, which doesn't feel great. Would like to have some more there, but feel pretty good still about the overall portfolio. don't have a huge position on the Vikings this year, partly because I wasn't getting a lot of influencer 101s, partly because I was taking Quentin Johnston over Jordan Addison, which was a bad thing to do, but might ultimately end up working out there. Wasn't taking the Vikings running back. So I don't think I'm going to feel the hit of Kirk Cousins being removed as much as I otherwise would have. Obviously devastating news if you were heavily invested in the Vikings there. I think it's going to get very, very ugly unless they're able to like pry Jacoby Brissett away from the Commanders or something. I was laughing that this team that I drafted on the marathon show with Kitchen and Maddock has now climbed into second place. And it's because we took DeAndre Hopkins here. I don't know if you guys remember this draft that I did with Davis and Kitchen, but everyone hated every single pick. Like Davis and Kitchen could not agree on these. This team does lose Kirk Cousins, probably going to lose Ryan Tannehill. So this team is already dead because it's just going to be anchored by Matthew Stafford. But I still think it's funny that this team here, which actually is kind of fine at running back, Gibbs, Swift, Gibson, Gainwell, and Jerome Ford. Wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Jalen Waddle, DeAndre Hopkins, Jordan Addison, Bateman, Van Jefferson, and Michael Wilson, and T.J. Hawkinson. So this is the team I'm talking about that's all heavy on Vikings. That's just dead. You lose Kirk. You lose, Jordan Addison's rookie career or rookie year is probably derailed now, and then T.J. Hawkinson. So it was fun while it lasted, Kitchen and Maddock. Shout out to Steph, has 3 in the top 10. I only did 70 BBMs. That is a very nice hit rate there. Let's see, finding value. My favorite team had A-Rich and Cousins. Fun team, but this is the way of best ball. You know what? I would kind of all the different kinds of blades to get, I would prefer that quick blade, right? Like you can just fully write it off. All right, that team had Kirk Cousins and Anthony Richardson. It's dead. What's worse is when you have this sick team and then you're like, now I'm down to just one quarterback for the year. And so there's enough hope to still string you along, but realistically, you're like, there's no way this thing is successfully traversing the playoff gauntlet. So yeah, I'd rather have just the team be dead than have any kind of hope. Like here's another team. I see Minnesota here. I keep saying how I don't have a ton of Minnesota teams, and then all of the teams I'm pulling up today have Minnesota. But here is another team that's Cousins and Purdy with no wide receivers from the Vikings, just a skinny with Hawkinson. This is probably a team that's not going to be able to survive it with just Brock Purdy. If this was a 3-quarterback team, it probably could survive it. Because tight ends, I still have Laporta and Mayer. You can survive that. No Minnesota wide receivers here, although I was forced to take Juju Smith-Schuster apparently. Running backs, whatever. I'm writing off this team anyways. That's the thing too of, thinking about advance rates, right? Like I'm sure all of us have a few of these teams where we look at, the team that's in first. This team's in first right now, but there's no way this holds. But on the flip side, there's probably a bunch of 3rd and 4th place teams that are surging right now, which makes it hard to kind of, holistically understand the portfolio, which is why I do like looking at some of the tools. This is the one that Neil Farley had built for me that had the very provocative violin plots that he had since gotten rid of, or maybe he put them back. We'll find out here in a second while this refreshes. I also want to shout out, I pulled this up from Patrick Donovan. He built his own BBM4 leaderboard. And what's really cool about this is you can click on the team and then immediately see what the team looks like. So this is the team in first place right now. I'll zoom in here. It's a Jalen Hurts, Kyler Murray, Jimmy Garoppolo, a 3-quarterback build with Jalen Hurts. Going to be getting Kyler Murray back hopefully in the next couple weeks. Then running backs, Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, AJ Dillon, Devon Achane, and Raheem Mostert. So this thing, the fact that it's in first without getting games from David Montgomery and Achane the past couple weeks is pretty impressive. Wide receivers, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith, George Pickens, Cortland Sutton, Zay Jones, Adam Thielen, Curtis Samuel, and Michael Wilson. About as perfect as you can do as far as dancing around all of the landmines and hitting the league winners, Thielen, Samuel there. And then 2 tight ends, TJ Hawkinson and Gerald Everett. So that is your first place team right now. Very impressive there. Are any of you guys in the chat in the top 50 or so of the leaderboard? I'll pull up your team if you are. Oh, we do have Neil in the chat. Neil, did you get rid of did you bring back the violin plots? It looks like you did. He brought back the box plot. I like this. See, Neil is very responsive to feedback. First, everyone got all horny on Maine for them. Then he took them off. And then I told him the people revolted and he brought it back. So there's the box plots here. Don't like seeing my histogram of places. Now have a lot of teams in ninth place here. I did think one thing that was interesting when I was looking at the overall data tables here. One thing I like about these tools that Neil spun up is I can see the pick where I picked for my first place teams here, or my top scoring teams, I should say. You can see almost all of them in the top 7. So my top 10 teams, none of them had a later pick than 7, which is kind of interesting, right? Because this year, a lot of those top 7 picks, other than Justin Jefferson, have been hitting at a pretty good rate. We've gotten the mega weeks from Jamar Chase, from CMC, from Tyreek Hill, from Austin Eckler, Cooper Kupp as well. So those top 7 picks have been nice, especially because right after that, you were in the Bijan territory. I guess AJ Brown is kind of probably the lone guy back there that's been absolutely destroying. I was just talking about how some of the first place teams are going to die. I just noticed I have a team. One of my highest scoring teams is actually in 3rd place here. This team that has 999 points is in 3rd place. Or I hadn't been sorting by team, but yeah, here it is, top 11 and still not qualifying. So hopefully that one can get in here. All right, I'll let you guys get it out of your system right now. Move my face. I'm sorry, guys. We go through a ton of different screen shares here. And here we go. Let me go back so you guys can see. There you go. Let me see. Was it like this before? I was censoring it. It was an inadvertent but intentional censor. Here you go. There you go. Do you want me to zoom in again? Is that what you guys want? You guys are sick. You guys are sick. I'm going to pour more coffee while you guys look at this box plot. Let's see if there's any other interesting teams here. In 2nd place, we have a Jalen Hurts, Bryce Young team. It is interesting to see the players that are most frequented at the top. So we see another Travis Etienne. Alvin Kamara here. That makes sense that Kamara teams are going to start bubbling up to the top. Tyreek Hill seems like a fixture of some of these top teams. He's been both the high ceiling and consistent producer. I guess him and CMC at the top. Devontae Smith, we're now starting to see a little bit after his game. Man, these wide receivers, like after Tyreek Hill and Devontae Smith, these are like all receivers I did not draft at all. Michael Thomas, Allen Lazard, Van Jefferson, Adam Thielen, Rashid Shaheed, and Puka. But man, hitting on like this last 3 here, what's my saying? You got to crack a few eggs to make an omelet. You got to draft a few Allen Lazards and Van Jeffersons to end up on Adam Thielen, Rashid Shaheed, and Puka Nacua. And then George Kittle, Tyler Conklin at tight end. Ace Viper in 3rd place here. Another Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts to a pretty dominant quarterback combo. Another ETN. He's definitely proving to be a league winner from this late 4th round spot. Then you get Swift, Kamara, Jerome Ford, Mostert. Man, that is a sick running back room. These wide receivers look a little bit more like I would draft. This Adam Thielen needle, man. Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith. How many teams have started Tyreek Hill, Devontae Smith? I guess it speaks to Tyreek Hill carrying these top teams, and then that means you're picking at the back end of the 2nd round. There were a ton of landmines in the back end of the 2nd round. Calvin Ridley, T. Higgins, etc. Devontae Smith now giving you a couple spike weeks here. Brandon Ayuk at 5.4 is a league winner. Nico Collins at 10.9, I think, is still easily paying off his draft costs. Rondale Moore, 11.4, has given us a couple spike weeks. Gallup, and then Thielen. This Thielen pick is like the late round skeleton key to having a top team. Nelson Aguilar is a pretty sick 18th round pick. He's given you a couple usable weeks. Kyle Pitts, Tyler Conklin, Cade Otton, little tight end by committee there. Oh no, Walrus balls falling to 170th. This is why you can't go chasing walrus balls. Let's look at one more here, and then we'll do the giveaway. Another team that has Tua. This one is a Tua, Sam Howell, Bryce Young, Travis Etienne, Kenneth Walker, Brian Robinson, Raheem Mostert, Kyren Williams. So yeah, this is the first Kyren Williams team we've seen in the top now. Those teams probably falling back down to earth a little bit. Tyreek Hill again, but wow, got Devontae Adams at 2.9. So a Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams slide there. Jahan Dotson, man. Pretty much a landmine pick, but then comes back from the dead yesterday. Shout out Sam Howell for bringing Jahan Dotson along for the ride. Rashad Bateman, Odell Beckham, Jonathan Mingo, Adam Thielen, and then has the Boley tight end with Mark Andrews and George Kittle. This is fascinating, right? Because if you would have showed me this team and you said, Peter, what place do you think this team is in? I would have been like, I bet it's top 1,000. You know, I bet it's like a good team. There's good players on here. But I would have looked at Dotson, Bateman, Odell, Mingo, Fournette, and I would have been like, there's no way this team is top 5. That's pretty crazy. But yeah, the running backs are pretty solid. And again, it also speaks to how important like the spike weeks are, right? Where you're getting those big Kyren Williams weeks, like just getting 14 to 15 points, that consistency, that's not how you get a team in the top 5. You really need those spike weeks. So even though Devontae Adams has been boom bust, we have seen him pop off for the big games. And then Adam Thielen forever, needling me here. All right, let's do the giveaway here. And as mentioned, guys, this was on the on Friday's show with JM. So this year, 1 week season, they did this cool thing for their existing subs where they gave them a code to give to a friend just for free to try out 1 week seasons for I think it's a year subscription. So would be for the rest of the year. And so pretty cool thing. And then a few of you guys had reached out to me. My guy, Jason Lundar, who was in the chat, said, hey, I have these codes. If you'd like to give them away, I'd be happy to do so. So that was very nice of you guys. So I got 2 codes to give away. And then we did it for whoever was correct about identifying players that were going to be in the Millie. So shout out to The Light of Truth, Epic Fun Tasks, Mutton Chop Yaz, Brian Severson, Josh Gerlach, Eric 78660, Short Sleep 01, Millhouse 8999, and of course, everyone's favorite Copper Prices here. So I'm going to shuffle this a couple times and we will draw 2 winners here. Ooh, geez. Kendrick Bourne, torn ACL. That's awful. He was like their lone bright spot on offense. And of course, Copper here takes this one down. Copper, do you already have a 1 week season? Yeah, it was the dude just keeps winning. 2 dog bowls, just too good. All right, Copper takes down the first one. DM me, Copper. I'll get you that code if you don't already have a 1 week sub. Perfect. I will get you squared away. And it looks like Josh Gerlach, 6132. You win the other one. Copper, I know where to find you. Josh, I don't know if I recognize your name. If you are on Twitter or Discord, DM me or leave a fresh comment on this video on where to contact you. And I will make sure to get you that discount code to check out 1 week season. The 1 week season, for those of you guys who didn't win, they do have it up to 40% off if you guys want to check it out. JM has been very, very dialed in this year. I was reading his morning update on Sunday. He's the one that got me on or having more conviction on Sam Howell. He had kind of shifted and he said Sam Howell was his most overweight QB. He said Etienne and Kamara were his highest exposure running backs. And obviously AJ Brown was his favorite wide receiver play. So JM, very dialed in these days. Love doing the show with him on Fridays. You can get 40% off a 1 week season sub with promo code Pete40. Also want to give a shout out to the YouTube members here as well. You guys have heard me mention it, but just in case, if you become a YouTube member, the Hand Builder and Opto Bro, you get 3 things. You get 2 extra DFS shows a week. So I do DFS After Dark on Saturday night. It's an interview show, sometimes hanging out with old friends like Mike Leone, or catching up with people that I haven't done shows with, like Neil Orfield from Stochastic a couple weeks ago. We talk about DFS, life, content, all kinds of stuff. And then we build a lineup. Had a fun show with Leone on Saturday. Speaking of evergreen stuff, he gave me some really good tips on how to use ETR Solver for the Sims. I know a bunch of you guys have been using it. Some really good ideas for how to kind of comb through lineups, various combinations, and make sure you're landing on solid plus EV lineups. So check out that. And then you also get the Sunday cram. So Sunday mornings at 10:45 a.m. We walk through the GPP slate. We talk through all the overnight news, the latest ownership steam. We go position by position, looking at the best GPP plays. I need to get off the schneid with my Gold Star locks coming off of back-to-back whiffs after a pretty hot start to the season. We had the Josh Downs, we had the Travis Etienne, but now we came back down to earth with the George Pickens and 2-2 call. We'll try to get that back on track. And then you also get access to the Discord. We got the Hand Builder OptoBro Discord. We share all of the top showdown plays in there each night. I'll share the Opto and the top leverage and EV plays from SimRunner, the Run the Sims tool, for helping you guys make a solid showdown lineup. So all of that for you YouTube members here on the channel. Appreciate all of you guys supporting us here. I'm going to head out to SiriusXM. Right now, I am on there Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, 11 to 1. Enjoy Monday Night Football tonight. I'll be back tomorrow afternoon for the club, and then we'll get rolling again with Week 9, Swolecast, Lulls, Ship Chasing Thursday Night Party. That one has been a ton of fun if you guys haven't tuned in for that. And then Friday, Block Party and Off and On the Clock. You know, just the grind of the NFL season. Hopefully we can get back in the winners column next week. Hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Shout out to producer Phil helping me as well behind the hopper. I'll see you guys next time.